Hello dear friends, I'm so happy to see you again on my channel. In today's episode, we will continue following the journey filled with ups and downs, yet overflowing with love, of Lythieuca and Officer Hung. After a brief time spent with his little family, Hung once again has to put on his uniform and leave his beloved home to continue his duty. On his shoulders lies the great responsibility to his country, but in his heart, he always carries the heavy longing for his wife and child. Every night, before falling asleep, Hung still thinks about Hoai, whose belly grows larger each day, and about the child who hasn't even seen his father's face but already has to live apart from him in the earliest days of life. Back at home, Hoai endures day by day. Though pregnancy makes her body heavy and weary, she always tries to keep a smile so her husband far away can be at peace. Fortunately, Mother Ha, despite the long distance, has moved in to stay with her daughter, caring for her, offering comfort, and sharing every household chore. The love of a mother and the devotion of a wife intertwine, creating a solid foundation for Hoai to withstand the days without Hung. But then, during this time, what hardships and challenges might await Hoai and her unborn child? Will her longing make her heart more fragile, or will her resilience help her stay strong until the day Hung returns? All of this will be revealed in today's episode. Please stay tuned, and don't forget to leave a comment and share your feelings below so we can spread the love together. Morning in the little kitchen was filled with gentle golden sunlight streaming through the window. The early rays seemed to coat everything in a layer of honey, the old wooden table polished by time, the bamboo chair by the corner, and even the tiny dust particles floating in the air. Hoai sat neatly at the table, her skillful hands slowly gathering the soft strands of Tony's hair, her 3-year-old son. His smooth black hair, a bit long and falling over his forehead, was carefully brushed back and tied into a small neat tuft. Each simple movement carried the deep tenderness of a mother's love. Though still young and not yet able to speak clearly, Tony could feel that affection. He sat quietly on the chair, his chubby legs swinging, giggling as his mother's fingers brushed lightly against his scalp. From time to time, he babbled a few unclear sounds, his bright, innocent eyes sparkling with joy. Like a tiny sprout, all he knew was how to radiate happiness when cared for by his mother. While tying his hair, Hoai whispered gently, her warm voice like a sweet lullaby. "Be good, my son. Today I'll take you to school, and in the afternoon I'll come back to pick you up. Grandma and I will wait for you to come home for dinner." Hearing his mother's voice, Tony didn't respond with words but wrapped his tiny arms around her neck. The clumsy, innocent hug was full of warmth, softening Hoai's heart in an instant. She bent down, kissed his cheek tenderly, her eyes misty with tears of happiness. In those innocent eyes, she saw complete trust and love meant only for her. Just then, Mother Ha stepped out of the kitchen, holding a steaming bowl of porridge. Its rich aroma spread across the room, the scent of freshly cooked rice and fried shallots blending with the rising steam, making the morning even cozier. She placed the bowl gently on the table, smiling kindly, her eyes full of compassion. "The boy is growing up. Once he gets used to school, he'll behave just fine. Don't worry too much, my dear. Take care of yourself, stay healthy, so you can look after the baby you're carrying as well." Her words were like a fresh breeze, easing the worries lingering in Hoai's heart. She nodded softly, her eyes glistening red, feeling truly fortunate to have her mother close by, sharing the burdens during these days without Hung. Inside the small house, Tony's giggles, the gentle conversations between mother and daughter, and the aroma of hot porridge all blended together, creating a scene of warmth and peace. Though Hung was absent, happiness still shone here, like the morning sunlight quietly dispelling the emptiness, giving Hoai the strength to move forward. In the quiet barracks, when the whole sky was still veiled in mist, Hung had already awakened. At just 4 a.m., the sound of the reveille bell echoed throughout the camp, ringing along the rows of communal houses, rousing each soldier to prepare for a new day. The air was still biting cold, the damp mist seeping into the fabric of their uniforms, yet the compound was already alive with the rhythm of footsteps, the rustle of blankets being folded, and the soft clatter of boots against the concrete floor. Hung silently put on his green uniform, heavy, yet filled with pride. The dry scent of the fabric mixed with the early morning dew brought him both calm and a sharp ache. He folded his blanket neatly into a perfect square as always, every movement practiced into habit. When finished, he stepped outside and drew in a deep breath. The chill of dawn pierced through his clothes, stinging his skin, yet he stood tall and steady, as if to suppress the swelling tide of longing within him. Returning to his room, his eyes fell on a familiar object on the small desk, an unfinished wedding photo. It had been taken on the day he and Hoai were preparing for their marriage, the day she smiled so gently, her eyes glowing with happiness. But it was left incomplete. Their wedding never came, interrupted by sudden events, and Hung was forced to leave home. He sat down, elbows on the desk, his gaze fixed on the photo. He looked at it for a long time, as if to carve every detail of Hoai's face deep into his memory. In the photo, she was delicate and graceful. But in his present recollection, that image blended with the fragile yet resilient woman now carrying their child, her belly just entering its 3rd month. She still smiled at him during their brief calls, but Hung knew behind that smile were worries and silent sacrifices. A pang of pain struck his heart. Hung lowered his head, lips moving in a whisper meant only for himself. "I miss you, and our child. I only pray you're both safe, so I can carry out my duty with peace of mind. Don't worry, I will come back." Just then, heavy footsteps sounded in the corridor. A comrade passing by noticed Hung holding the photo and chuckled teasingly. "Missing your wife already? It's only been a few days. Better watch out, or you'll be calling her name in your sleep tonight." Startled, Hung quickly slid the photo into his desk drawer. He forced a faint smile, nodded to brush it off, then stood up at once. His firm steps blended into the daily rhythm of the unit, as the sharp sound of commands and strong voices echoed across the barracks. But behind that faint smile, the longing still ran deep, unspoken, unshared. It could only burn quietly in his heart, a hidden flame that he carried forward, transforming into strength to keep him steadfast on his path. At dawn, as the sun slowly rose from behind the distant mountains and a veil of mist still lingered across the hills, Hoai quietly made her way to the cornfield. The red earth path leading to the field was damp with dew, her steps leaving faint marks in the soft mud. On both sides of the path, tall weeds stretched upward, their blades adorned with glistening droplets like scattered pearls. In her hand, she carried a woven basket filled with fertilizer. Her slender shoulders trembled slightly with each slow but determined step. Her growing belly made her movements heavy, sweat already beading on her temples, yet not a single word of complaint escaped her lips. Every now and then, she placed a hand gently on her stomach, her eyes soft with love, whispering silently as if speaking to her child. "Be good, my dear. Let's get through these days without your father together. He may be far away, but he will surely come back to us." Out in the field, rows of tall, green corn stood shoulder-high, their broad leaves swaying and rustling in the breeze. The scent of damp earth, manure, and wild grass mingled into the familiar fragrance of the countryside. Kneeling down, Hoai carefully spread fertilizer around each plant. Every stalk, every row of soil bore witness to her patience and devotion. Sweat trickled down her forehead, her clothes damp with labor, yet her lips still curved in a calm smile. Bathed in the golden light stretching across the hills, the sight of a pregnant woman working tirelessly shone like a testament to resilience, moving anyone who happened to see her. By late afternoon, when the sun dipped behind the mountains, Hoai finally finished tending to the field. She carried the basket home, her pace slow, yet her eyes glowed with quiet satisfaction. In the small house, an oil lamp had already been lit, the aroma of freshly cooked rice rising together with the smoke of the firewood. Sitting beside her mother, Hoai ate gently and spoke softly, her voice steady. "Tomorrow, I'm thinking of going into the forest to gather some medicinal herbs, so that if any of our neighbors need them, we'll have them ready." Mother Ha paused, setting her bowl down with care. Her gaze lingered on her daughter, filled with both pride and concern. She knew her child had always lived selflessly, always thinking of others. But now, with a baby growing inside her, even the simple act of working in the field had become a test of strength. She nodded slowly, sighed, then spoke with gentle affection, her words like a reminder. "My child, you are no longer living just for yourself. You must protect both your own health and that of the little one inside you. If you truly wish to go, let me come along. I'll feel at ease if I'm by your side." Hoai fell silent, her eyes misting with tears. Then she smiled gratefully. She knew that despite life's hardships and despite Hung's absence, her mother was always there, a steady pillar of support. In that moment, the small kitchen glowed with warmth. The crackle of firewood in the stove, the evening breeze rustling through the porch, and the gentle sway of corn leaves outside, all seemed to join in rhythm with the quiet worries and deep, simple love of mother and daughter. Late in the afternoon, as the last rays of sunlight cast a golden hue over the porch, Du's older sister knocked gently on the door, carrying several bags. Inside were some freshly harvested rice, green vegetables from her garden, and a few dried goods. Du hurried out to greet her, smiling though his eyes showed a trace of shyness. "You brought things again, sis. We still have enough at home." His sister set the bags on the table, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and spoke in a soft but firm voice. "It's just a little gift from home, don't feel embarrassed. I know Hoai is pregnant, and there's a lot of work to handle, so I want to help however I can." In the small house, they sat together to talk. Pouring him a cup of tea, she said slowly, her tone full of care. "Du, you need to be careful with the books and money matters. Now that Hoai is expecting and Hung is away on duty, you must be more responsible in helping out. Don't let outsiders think you're indifferent." Du lowered his head, scratching his hand, his voice quiet. "Yes, I understand. I do worry, but sometimes I feel lost, not knowing how to manage everything properly." His sister looked at him, her eyes carrying both gentle reproach and encouragement. After a pause, she sighed and added, "Hung is busy with his work, while still struggling to pay off old debts. As family, we must share the burden. Whatever little we can contribute will ease things for Hoai. This isn't only about money, it's about family bonds." Du fell silent, his heart heavy. He knew her words were true. Glancing toward the kitchen, where Hoai and Mother Ha were busy preparing dinner, he felt the weight of his responsibility even more. Quietly, he nodded, as if making a silent promise. Outside, the sky had turned a purple shade of dusk, the sound of chickens calling their flock echoed back, blending with the simple, loving atmosphere of the household. That night, after the conversation, Du sat in silence for a long while. Outside, the crescent moon hung in the sky, the breeze stirred the leaves, and the house was quiet except for the chirping of crickets. In that stillness, a memory returned, of the day Hoai was robbed of her phone. She had been walking back from the market, her hands full of produce, when a thief snatched her phone and sped away. Since then, she'd had no way to communicate. Whenever she wanted to send Hung a few encouraging words, or simply call a neighbor, she had to rely on others. Tieu had felt a pang of sorrow back then, but he hadn't been able to help. Now, the thought weighed heavily on him. He turned to his sister, his voice contemplative yet firm. "Sis. I think Hoai really needs a new phone. Especially now, with her pregnancy growing heavier and hung far away. Without a way to reach out, it's too inconvenient. If something urgent happens and she can't call anyone, it could be dangerous." His sister looked at him, surprised at first, then slowly nodded. She too had thought of this, waiting for him to speak up. "I agree. We're not wealthy, but we should do what we can for her. For peace of mind, we should get one right away." So the siblings discussed and decided to go to town the next morning. The small phone shop at the corner of the street was brightly lit with fluorescent lights, glass cases filled with all sorts of models. The shopkeeper greeted them warmly, pointing out new phones of every price range. Tieu stood silently in front of the display, his eyes sweeping past the shiny, luxurious models before shaking his head. Deep down, he knew Hoai didn't need extravagance, just something practical, durable, and reliable. His eyes stopped at one corner of the case, a second-hand Samsung S22. The exterior still looked fairly new, affordable, and it was the same model Hoai had once used. Picking it up, Tieu turned it over in his hand, his gaze thoughtful. In his mind appeared the image of Hoai in the small house, one hand on her belly, the other holding Tony, sometimes wishing she could call home, only to sigh. The thought tightened his chest. He spoke in a low, resolute voice. "This one will do. She doesn't need anything fancy, just something solid and easy to use. What matters most is that she can reach home or call the neighbors in an emergency." His sister, standing beside him, looked at her brother with eyes full of both agreement and pride. She smiled, gently patting his shoulder. "It's good that you're thinking of others this way. Let's choose this one, so she'll have what she needs." Both nodded in agreement, and the shopkeeper quickly wrapped the phone and handed it to Tieu. Holding it in his hand, Tieu felt a wave of relief wash over him. In that moment, he realized this small act was more than just providing convenience for Hoai. It was a way to share Hung's burdens, to show care, responsibility, and the enduring bonds of family. That afternoon, as the last sunlight stretched across the mountainside, Tieu and his sister arrived at Hoai's home with gifts. In Tieu's hands was a carefully wrapped small box, while his sister carried a basket of fruit, some dried goods, and fresh vegetables from the garden, a simple gesture, yet full of care. Mother Ha was sweeping the yard when she saw them. She lit up with joy, her voice warm and cheerful. "Oh, you two came by. Come in, come in. Why bring so much with you?" Quickly setting aside her broom, she poured green tea for her guests. The little house filled with laughter and conversation. But in the midst of it, Tieu suddenly fell silent. He lowered his head, clutching the box tightly, his eyes heavy with emotion. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice low and strained. "Auntie, there's something I've kept hidden for a long time. The truth is, I am Tony's biological father. But I know Hoai has her own happiness now, with Hung beside her, protecting and caring for her. I don't want, and don't have the right, to disturb her life anymore. All I ask is to find a way to stay in touch, so I can care for the boy. Beyond that, I promise to keep my distance, and not cause more trouble." His words struck like thunder in the still afternoon. The room fell silent, the ticking of the wall clock suddenly loud. Mother Ha trembled slightly, the teacup shaking in her hands. Her eyes showed shock, sadness, and thoughtfulness. After a long quiet moment, she exhaled deeply, then nodded slowly, her voice gentle yet firm. What's past should stay in the past. The most important thing now is that Hoai and Tony remain at peace. If you truly only want to care without stirring up trouble, then I trust you will keep your word. I don't blame you, just remember this promise. At that moment, footsteps echoed on the porch. Hoai returned from the cornfield, her figure weary, clothes dusty, her face pale after a day of work. Yet upon seeing everyone, she smiled gently. Setting down her basket, she wiped her brow and greeted Du and his sister. Du quickly stood up, holding out the small box with both hands. His voice was deep, earnest. I brought you a gift, just a phone. I hope you'll use it to stay in touch, especially with Hung away. I wish for nothing more than your safety and the child's. Hoai froze, her eyes widening with surprise before softening into tears. Her hands trembled as she opened the box and saw the phone inside. Overcome with emotion, her voice choked as she whispered sincerely. Thank you, truly, thank you. They all sat together, the conversation turning to Hung's long-term absence. Everyone acknowledged he would be away for 5 years, a painfully long time. The mood grew heavy, but Mother Ha and Du's sister offered encouragement. Take care of yourself and the baby. If anything happens, don't hesitate to call. You're not alone, staying connected will help ease your worries. Quietly, Du spoke again, his voice soft, almost hesitant. If you allow it. I'd like to take Tony out on weekends sometimes. The boy needs affection, from both sides. The room fell silent once more. Hoai sat still, her hands clasped tightly, emotions swirling, surprise, unease, but also a flicker of understanding. She glanced at Tony, innocently playing with a wooden stick outside, unaware of the complicated truths among the adults. Taking a deep breath, she slowly nodded. All right, as long as your intentions are truly for him, I agree. Warmth returned to the room. Outside, twilight descended, casting a golden-orange glow across the tiled roof and through the windows. It was as if the sunset itself bore witness to a quiet reconciliation, where kinship, motherhood, and unspoken burdens found common ground, all for one purpose: the peace and well-being of Hoai and Tony. After chatting for a while longer, Du and his sister stood up to take their leave. Du gave Hoai one last look, his eyes heavy with thought but tinged with relief, as though he had finally unburdened himself of a secret long kept. His sister smiled gently, offering a few more words of advice before the two of them disappeared down the lane, their silhouettes fading into the dimming twilight. Inside the small house, Hoai let out a quiet sigh before bringing the dinner tray from the kitchen. On it were only the simplest dishes: a bowl of sweet amaranth soup with the aroma of scallions, a plate of braised fish spiced with pepper, and a small dish of pickled eggplant, crisp and tangy. Humble fare, yet under the warm glow of the lamp, everything seemed wrapped in a tender, homely warmth. Mother Ha sat neatly by the tray, her slender hands scooping rice into bowls, murmuring with a smile. The food may be simple, but as long as the family is gathered, it's enough. Tony darted happily around the tray, his tiny feet pattering as he laughed innocently, his bright eyes knowing nothing of adult worries, only the joy of sharing a meal with his mother and grandmother. Watching her son's carefree delight, Hoai lowered her head, her eyes shimmering with tears. She whispered, her voice trembling yet resolute. Even though your father is far away, we will live well, my child. So that when the day comes he returns, we can smile without regret. That vow burned quietly in her heart, painful, yet filled with hope. Outside, night fell, cloaking the village in silence. The little house glowed softly in the vast darkness, its golden light spilling out like a quiet beacon of peace, though tinged with longing. Within that glow, the warmth of family remained steadfast, giving Hoai strength to face the uncertain days without Hung. That evening, the house was filled with Tony's laughter and the warmth of a shared meal, yet behind Hoai's tender eyes lingered an unspoken yearning for her distant husband. As the night deepened, the small lamp shone steadily above the home, like a silent reminder of faith and hope. But questions remain. Will Hoai have the strength to endure these lonely days as her belly grows heavier? Will Hung, far away, keep his promise to return to his family? And will Du's quiet presence bring comfort, or stir new storms for this fragile home? All will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned, and continue this journey with us.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hiện tại thì mình đang edit video và vẫn chưa có hoàn thành. Và mình vẫn đang cố gắng để có thể hoàn thành video sớm nhất có thể để có thể đăng tải lên vào tối nay. Tối hôm qua thì mình có dự định là sẽ lên video vào tối hôm qua, nhưng mà do là không có kịp nên là sáng hôm nay thì mình mới đăng tải lên. Nếu như mà đúng lịch mà kênh mình lên video là lẽ ra là một ngày thì sẽ 2 video, một video 7 giờ tối và một video 7 giờ sáng. Nhưng mà do cái tiến trình mình làm nó không có kịp nên là sẽ có video lúc 7 giờ tối và có video thì lại lúc 7 giờ sáng. Mình mong rằng mọi người sẽ đón xem và ủng hộ cho video của mình. Mình đang cố gắng để có thể đăng tải video lên vào lúc 7 giờ tối nay nữa để cho mọi người có thể xem. Và hãy theo dõi video của mình nhiều hơn nữa nhé mọi người. Và chúc mọi người xem video vui vẻ. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video tiếp theo. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye.